BBQ Pit, another Tuesday night, UFC 281 this Saturday. We're pumped up about this. Israel Adesanya going up against his arch nemesis, Alex Pereira. Pereira 6-1 pro record, 3-0 in the UFC. 33-7 as a professional kickboxer with 2 wins over Israel Adesanya, professional kickboxing, one being a knockout, the other being a decision. He's only had one professional boxing match. He won that by knockout against Marcelo de Souza Cruz in 2017. In the UFC, he has a knockout win over Andreas Michailidis in his debut. He then won a decision over Bruno Silva and then knocked out Sean Strickland at UFC 276 in July. 21 of his 33 pro kickboxing wins are via knockout, and only two of his 7 kickboxing losses are via TKO or knockout. The guy's got an exceptional amount of power. He showed that against Strickland. He showed that against Michailidis. Excuse me. And he's long. He's pretty much the exact build that Israel Adesanya has. It's the same build that Alex Pereira has. The only difference is the power of the striking that Pereira has. Seems, I mean, you don't know because you've never seen the two fight against each other. But from what you've seen Pereira do against his opponents, Adesanya do against his opponents, it would appear Pereira is the harder puncher, the harder kicker. He just seems more athletically gifted than Adesanya. Now, Adesanya, 18-1 as a professional, has only lost against Tom Blachowicz, who is a much larger man than Israel Adesanya. Since his last loss, he has won 3 straight. Marvin Vettori, Robert Whittaker, and Jared Cannonier, cleaning out the division. He's got 15 wins via knockout, 8 wins via decision. Great striking. Always comes in with a great game plan. 75-5 professional kickboxing record with 2 out of 5 of his losses coming to Alex Pereira. So there's no real way. I mean, the dude's only fought 6 times in MMA. He's only fought 3 times in the UFC. It's really impossible to put an accurate prediction to say, based on this, and this, I think this. I've shown you what the stats are. I've shown you who they've beaten, who they've lost to, their boxing records, this, that, and the third. Now it just comes to what do you think is going to win? Exceptional athleticism and power up against good game plan, fight IQ, and really, really good striking as well. I'm going to go Pereira. I've never really liked Israel Adesanya. I've never been a fan. He's a great fighter. Don't get me wrong. I just, his style, his fight, not even his fighting style, his like mannerism style, like the way he carries himself, the way he talks and stuff like that. I'm not really a big fan of it. So I'm going to go Alex Pereira. Knockout. I'll give him a knockout again. Israel Adesanya is probably going to get it. If Pereira was to win, I'd say he's going to get in there. He's going to frustrate Adesanya. Adesanya's going to look to try to change his game plan, and when he does that, he's going to get caught. So I'm going to go Alex Pereira. Carla Esparza, the champion, at plus 300 against Zhang Weili Zhang. Zhang 22-3, won her title with a knockout over Jessica Andrade in 2019. Defended it once with a split decision win over Joanna, then lost it to Rose Namajunas via knockout. First time she ever got knocked out in her career. Got an immediate rematch against Rose, lost that one by decision. And then in her most recent fight, she knocked out Joanna UFC 275 in June. She got 11 wins via knockout, 7 wins via submission. She only lost once by knockout, never been submitted. She's 2-2 as a professional kickboxer. Good power, great takedown defense to keep the fight standing. But I think mostly what's going to be key in this fight is her power, her striking power. Carla Esparza, a great grappler, really good wrestler, but going to be a lot physically smaller than Weili Zhang. And she's 35 years old and been fighting since 2010. So she's fighting professionally for 12 years. And she's 35 years old. So, I mean, can she take the power shots of Weili Zhang? Esparza's 19-6 professionally, 11 wins via decision, good gas tank, has been knocked out in 2 out of 6 of her losses, Tatiana Suarez and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Hey, let me tell you something. If Joanna Jędrzejczyk can knock you out, Weili Zhang can send you into another stratosphere, bro. So minus plus 300, might as well make her plus 800, dude, because Weili Zhang is going to fucking knock her unconscious more than likely sooner than later in the fight. Dustin Poirier, we go up against Michael Chandler. Poirier, this is going to be his last fight, or his first fight since losing to Charles Oliveira for the title in December. Funny enough, the dude is, let me find he is 6-2 since 2018. So in the last 4 years, man has a 6-2 record. Those two losses come to Khabib for the belt and Charles Oliveira for the belt. So the dude is like, the dude would be 6-0 if he never fought for the belt. In the last 4 years, the dude would be 6-0 if he never tried to fight for the belt. He's beaten Conor McGregor twice. He's beaten Dan Hooker, Max Holloway, Eddie Alvarez, and Justin Gaethje in that time frame. He's got a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and in his 2 losses, he fought very, very grappling-heavy guys. Guys with good wrestling, not just good jiu-jitsu, but good wrestling. And Michael Chandler has those credentials. He's a former Division I wrestler with a short, stocky frame. So, takedowns are going to be easier to fake. They're going to be easier to defend if Poirier tries to go for his own takedown. He's a former Bellator lightweight champion. He's 2-2 in the UFC. He's got a TKO win over Dan Hooker in his UFC debut. Then he lost 2 straight, Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje. And then since then, he has knocked out Tony Ferguson in May. So knockout artist. He's got power in his hands. He's got power in his kicks. I don't think he's that technically sound striking-wise to where he's going to be able to outstrike a guy like Dustin Poirier. I think if Poirier just stands there and boxes with him, he's going to fuck him up. But if Michael Chandler could turn it into a brawl and land some big shots, he could easily knock out Dustin Poirier, no question. But if he takes it to the ground and he's able to wrestle Dustin Poirier, as long as he can keep top pressure and stay on top, I think he can make it a really, really long night for Poirier. So I'm not going to pick him just because I don't think he's got pride, man. He's did the same thing against Justin Gaethje. He just, even though he knew that he could take him down and he could probably win the fight taking him down, he stood with him. He did the same thing with Hooker. Hooker's got no takedown defense at all. He's got no wrestling at all. Michael Chandler could have easily taken him down and beat the shit out of him, but instead he stood with him. He was actually getting beat up a little bit standing up. Then he lands a huge shot and knocks him out. So I like Michael Chandler. He's an exciting fighter. He's really, really exciting fighter to watch, but I'm going to go Dustin Poirier here. Frankie Edgar, Chris Gutierrez. Edgar, damn, man, why are you still fighting? No disrespect. I love Frankie Edgar, veteran of the sport. Back in the day, one of my favorite fighters to watch. It's just, man, you're getting up there in age. He's 2-5 since 2018. In the last 4 years, dude's 2-5. His only 2 wins are against Cub Swanson via decision, which is a good win at that point in his career. And then Pedro Munoz, who was probably a foot out the door at the time. And that was only a split decision win against Munoz, meaning one of those 3 judges thought Munoz won that fight. Not looking good. Edgar's 24-10-1 professionally, never been submitted. Only 4 of his 10 losses were via knockout. 2 of those losses were in his last 2 fights, Corey Sandhagen and Marlon Vera. So his chin's going. His cardio's starting to slow down. We've seen that in the Vera fight. Now, granted, Marlon Vera's got some of the greatest cardio in that division. Still, Edgar, back in 2010, 2011, Edgar would have been able to go for 10 rounds against Marlon Vera and not get tired. He was getting tired in those last couple rounds. Legend of the sport, good grappling, knockout power in his hands if he can land on you. Been a professional since 2005. Career wins over Sean Shirk, BJ Penn, he beat 3 times. He beat Charles Oliveira earlier in his career, Cub Swanson twice, and then Chad Mendez. I mean, he's a staple of the sport. He's one of the guys that you look at when you think UFC 10 years from now, when you're like, who are the old guys from the UFC? Who are the guys that we think of, like Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell and Hoist Gracie and things like that. Those generations of people, they're going to think Frankie Edgar, Nate Diaz, John Jones, George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva. They're going to think guys like that as like the building blocks for their UFC fandom. Gutierrez coming into this fight 2 inches taller, but with a slight reach advantage over Frankie Edgar. Purple belt in jiu-jitsu against Frankie Edgar's first degree black belt in jiu-jitsu. Gutierrez is 18-4-2, never been knocked out, only been submitted once by Hani Barcelonis in his UFC debut. 8 out of 9 of his wins via knockout. 8 wins. Oh no, he's got 8 wins by knockout, 9 wins by submission. Sorry, I wrote that fucking weird. And he's 6-1-1 in the UFC. He's got a draw against Cody Durden in 2020. And since then, he has 2 decision wins over Andre Ewell and Felipe Corrales. And then a knockout win against Dana Betbrell in March. So he's on a streak. He's taller. He's got slick submission skills. His cardio should be up to par. I'm going to give it to Chris Gutierrez. Probably Frankie Edgar passing the torch along to Chris Gutierrez. Maybe this is a retirement fight. Maybe it's not. If not, I mean, Frankie, I'm not saying this if you're listening. Probably fucking, I think a handful of people will watch these every week. That's what's giving me my views every week. So I don't think Frank Edgar's going to watch this. But if on the weird chance Frank Edgar watches, it's not anything personal, man. I don't like seeing fighters fight way past their prime. I don't like them taking crazy amounts of damage. I've talked to many different fighters, and we'll name them name by name. But guys that just at this, like, they're 10, 15 years out of retirement, and it's just hard for them to speak. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for them to come up with sentences because of the immense amount of knockouts they took at the end of their career they didn't need to take. They were just taking because they wanted to keep fighting, and they wanted to keep going out there. And there's something in a man's brain that you lose and you tell yourself, nah, man, fuck that. We're going to win next time. We're going to win next time. And that doesn't go away because you're 40 years old. It doesn't go away because you're 35 years old. It doesn't go away because you're 50. It doesn't go away. You lose and you think, fuck that. Let's get back on the horse. Let's win the next one. And, when you get knocked out a few times at the end of your career, yeah, you're going to say that. Even after the knockout, you're still going to get up and say that. But it gets dangerous, man. It gets dangerous to get knocked out, and keep having that mentality that we're going to come back from this. We're going to come back from this. Eventually, you just got to say, man, this is a young man's sport, and I'm going to leave now and, start a company, do something. There's so many things for fighters out there to do post-fighting. To where I get it, you want to make money, but make money doing something else, man. Spend time with your kids, be 70, 80 years old, and be able to have coherent conversations with your kids and be able to, pass them knowledge and teach them and be active with them and shit like that. It's very sad to see when fighters that you watch my whole life, and then you watch them kind of turn into just these shells of themselves afterwards because they just didn't know when to stop. Truly sad, and I don't wish that upon Frankie Edgar. I hope that I actually hope he wins this weekend. I picked Gutierrez, but there's crazy amounts of fight throughout the year that I root for the guy I picked against, and this is one of them. I really am rooting for Frankie Edgar. I hope he wins, and I hope he gets on the mic and retires, and it's this really cool moment. I really, really, really hope that for him because I don't want to see him keep getting knocked out and go down that path in his career. Also on the main card, Dan Hooker and Claudio Puelles. We didn't preview that one, but that is also on the main card. Prelims, Brad Riddell versus Renato Moicano should be a good one. Dominic Reyes fighting Ryan Spann. Molly McCann coming in at plus 300 against Aaron Blanchfield. Jump in on that if you like it. Andre Petrosky against Wellington Turman. Matt Favola going up against Ottoman Azatar. Karolina Kovacevic will be fighting Silviana Gomez Flores. Michael Trezano will be fighting Choi Sung Wo, or Woo, Wo, the fuck you want to say it. Julio Arce will be going up against Montel Jackson, and then Carlos Ulberg will be going up against Nikolay Negumereanu. Negumereanu, not the word you think. Until next time, guys, stay barbecue. You guys know what the fuck it is. We'll be back next week with another preview. Make sure you check out my NFL against the spread bets. We're getting more into sports betting, so we'll be doing a little bit different content in there. Go check out my TikTok page, the BBQ Pit MMA. Funny shit, comedy, MMA shit. You know what it is. Holla at me. Stay barbecued.